Hi, guys. How's everybody doing? Still waiting for a few people to come in here. I think we're supposed to have like 18 people, right? Oh, okay. All right. Well, just waiting for a couple more people to come in. Get started, guys. All right. I'm going to make sure everybody can hear me okay. Can you guys hear me? I want to make sure the sound is working. Somebody just say yes. Brian, can you hear me? Let me just double check and let me get somebody to say something so I can hear you. Anybody? Just say something. Anybody? I'm going to just check sound and everything. Anyone? Ethan? Can you say something? Brian? Anybody? Just say hello or something. Anyone?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mia. See, that wasn't very difficult, was it, guys? All right. So, all right, let me send this out. So we are on 6 today. Okay, there we go. This is from the original guide, the OG. So it's going to be test 2 from that book. Okay, so there we go. Close this. And again, we'll start from the harder section and work our way back. Okay, so we're going to start with section 4 here. So you can see it. We see our instructions. We have no more than 2 words. All right, so the 2-word ones are a little bit difficult because we can't really guess if it's going to be a noun or a verb or an adjective, because it can be an adjective noun, a verb noun, it could be several combinations. So, we do want to still want to pay attention to the bold print. This represents the subject changes. You can see there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 different subjects. All right, so it's going to begin with the initial thoughts. He's going to start with that. And then he's going to move on to the structure. And presenting. The last one's going to be questions and interruptions. So this helps us keep track because this doesn't really change. He'll say, okay, let's move on to the structure. Let's move on to presenting. We'll talk about presenting now. And finally, we'll talk about questions and interruptions. So use that to help yourself keep track of what's going on. All right, so let's start with the first one here. So we have more important to consider is your audience. Okay, so the audience is the people listening. And we do have 3 points to bear in mind. So 3 things to consider. All right. So now this is good because we have multiple choices here. We have multiple answers. So we will hear these other ones. And that will help us know what he's talking about. He's going to say, well, what they need to know. Then he's going to say how, what they will be. And then finally, how big the audience is. So it's we're going to hear him say this. He's going to say, well, first, what they need to know. And he's going to explain that. Then he'll move on to the second one. So once you hear him talk about what they need to know, then you know that is coming right after that. How they will be. And then if you didn't hear it and you hear him say how big the audience is, well, then you missed it. So all right, so whenever you have multiple answers, when you say 2 or 3, you see something, see a word, and then a space, just kind of listen for that other word to know where you're at. All right, so once we're done with that, we're going to move on to our structure. Start with information that makes the audience. Now, this makes sense because, well, I think it's going to be a verb, most likely. It's got to be, right? Because the audience is a noun. It has to be a verb. Makes the audience think, makes the audience speak, makes the audience. So it's going to be a verb, whatever it is. And we have end with. Okay, end with something. Now be prepared for synonyms, guys, because there's other ways of saying end, right? Finish, conclude. So be prepared for synonyms. In case he might say something like that. So keep that in mind. Instead of saying end with something. Have the design. This presentation needs to be, all right? So if you know grammar, anytime you have be, it's going to be an adjective. It's going to follow it. Still want to pay attention to the bold print. This represents the subject changes. You can see there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 different subjects. All right, so it's going to begin with the initial thoughts. He's going to start with that. And then he's going to move on to the structure. And presenting. The last one's going to be questions and interruptions. So this helps us keep track because this doesn't really change. He'll say, okay, let's move on to the structure. Let's move on to presenting. We'll talk about presenting now. And finally, we'll talk about questions and interruptions. So use that to help yourself keep track of what's going on. All right, so let's start with the first one here. So we have more important to consider is your audience. Okay, so the audience is the people listening. And we do have 3 points to bear in mind. So 3 things to consider. All right. So this is good because we have multiple choices here. We have multiple answers. So we will hear these other ones, and that will help us know what he's talking about. He's going to say, well, what they need to know. Then he's going to say how, what they will be. And then finally, how big the audience is. So it's kind of, we're going to hear him say this. He's going to say, well, first, what they need to know. And he's going to explain that. Then he'll move on to the second one. So once you hear him talk about what they need to know, and you know that is coming right after that, how they will be. And then if you didn't hear it and you hear him say how big the audience is, well, then you missed it. So, all right. So whenever you have multiple answers, when you say 2 or 3, you see something, see a word, and then a space. Just kind of listen for that other word to know where you're at. All right. So once we're done with that, we're going to move on to our structure. Start with information that makes the audience. Now, this makes sense because, well, I think it's going to be a verb most likely. It's got to be, right? Because the audience is a noun. It has to be a verb. Makes the audience think, makes the audience speak, makes the audience. So it's going to be a verb, whatever it is. Then we have end with. With something. And be prepared for synonyms, guys, because there's other ways of saying end, right? Finish, conclude. So be prepared for synonyms. In case he might say something like that. Let's keep that in mind. Instead of saying end with something. We have the design. This presentation needs to be, all right? So if you know grammar, anytime you have be, it's going to be an adjective. It's going to follow it. And then we have vary context by using a mix of words and something else. So there's one of those 2 choices, right? So we have using a mix of words and the answer. So we're listening from the same mix of words, and then the answer is going to come up. Next we have, next subject, presenting. Okay, look at the audience, be enthusiastic, energetic. It's going to talk about your voice. Your voice, you should vary the speed and something else. If we vary something, to vary is to kind of change it, all right? So something that's not the same, it's being something else. Mistake here, this should add. Occasionally, add something of greater impact. So add something to it. Then do not use. Okay, so we have for example here. All right, so this is good too because he's going to say these words. He's going to say, for example, appears or seems. So whatever he's going to say here, he's going to say, for example, appears or seems. So that's good too, because that kind of helps us know what he's talking about. And the last one we had here, blue. So when asked a question, first of all, you should what? Okay, so when asked a question, you should do what? And then finally, we have to minimize interruptions by something them. So to minimize something is to make it less, smaller. So to minimize interruptions by doing something. Guys, so yeah, all right. Yeah, let's do this one. Remember, this one has 2 words, possibly 2 words to each. All right, not all of them are going to be 2 words. I know a couple of them are going to be single words, but so again, it's preparing, giving a presentation. And let's see if I can find this file. It's going to be too hard to find it. Okay, so I'm just going to use this one here instead.
Hello, Imelda.
Let's get the file
Another
here.
trial?
Here we go.
Of course it's another trial. And you'd better be taking part.
Recording 46. You will hear someone talking about creating a presentation.
You finally scared
First, you have some time to look at
I have
questions
plenty
31
of
to 40.
challenges. They're just not very good. No
So,
one sets
we
records
have
by
1
pushing
minute to
for
do
them.
that. We've already
And
done
I
it.
need strong
Skip ahead
competition
1
to stay
minute.
on top of my game. Are you going to try to beat my flying record or not?
Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Strong competition.
Hello, everyone.
Could that have
You've
been
all been
a
given an
compliment,
assignment for your
Imelda?
sociology
Go ahead,
course,
believe
which
what
will
you want.
involve giving a
No
presentation to the rest of the
Compliments make
group.
people soft.
And so
No one goes
today,
around telling
I'm
me I
going
did
to
a
be
fine
giving
job.
you a few
Do
tips
I
on
care?
how to prepare
No.
your
I
presentations.
say I'm the best, and that's
This
all I
should
need.
help you with your
So
current
please,
assignment,
try to beat my
but a
record
lot of
this
the
year,
principles I'll be
and
putting
don't be
across
disappointed when you
will be
lose.
general principles which will, of course, help
I'm
you
ready.
with all your future
Finally,
presentations.
a decent challenge.
So, first of all, the most important thing to consider is your audience. And in this instance, your audience are the other students in your group. There are 3 points to bear in mind. Firstly, you need to ask yourself what they need to know. Secondly,
That wasn't
it's
bad.
useful to consider whether they'll be supportive or not. And thirdly, will it be a small group, say 3 or 4, a moderate gathering of 20 or so people, as for your current assignment, or will there be hundreds of people?
I'd say that was acceptable.
Having said all that, what I'm about to tell you will apply equally to any audience. So, how do you structure your presentation? Right at the beginning, you should tell them something that forces them to pay attention. This could be something surprising or even shocking, but it needs to be relevant. After that, you need a list of items or topics showing them what you'll be covering, rather like an agenda. And then the main part of the presentation will follow. This main part will be the detailed information you'll be presenting
Brilliant.
and could include facts, statistics, personal experiences, etc. After this, you should summarize what you've presented and close with what I call next steps. For this assignment, you could simply point the group to other sociology reference material. In other cases, you may want to suggest some actions that people can take. Now, what about the design of the slides for your laptop? Well, the important thing here is to be consistent. You need to have the same type of font and use the same color and size for the same elements. For example, all headers need to look the same. All bullet points need to be presented in the same way. And don't just stick to
I'm
words.
getting the hang of this.
Bring the presentation to life by adding graphics. These could be in several forms, such as pictures, flowcharts, diagrams, histograms, and so on. And so let's move on now to presenting. You have your presentation prepared and you're ready to start. Well, it's important to give a good impression from the start. So take 3 deep breaths, look at the audience, no matter how frightening they may be, and be enthusiastic and energetic. As you go through the presentation, remember to provide some variety in the way you speak. So, for example, you can talk fairly rapidly for information that may be familiar,
Seems my record
but
remains
then
untouched.
slow down
I expected
for more
better
unfamiliar
competition from you.
sections.
What do you say?
And change your
Up for another
tone
go?
as you speak.
A chance to avenge
Don't
the
keep
owner
it
of your house.
at the
That
same
sort of
level all the way through.
I'm ready to give it another
As I
go.
mentioned,
Good.
look at your audience. A good tip is to pick people out and look at them for around 5 seconds. Not looking at the audience gives the impression that you're either not interested in them or terrified of them.
Brilliant.
Looking too long at one particular person may make them feel rather uncomfortable. There may be points in your presentation that you want your audience to really absorb. And in order to make important points stand out, you may consider adding silence right after these. It will give people time to reflect on what you've just said. Also, you may be presenting complicated ideas or technical details, but try to keep everything as simple as possible. Use simple words and as few as possible. And be clear.
Close, but
If
not
you say
close
something
enough.
like, "This appears to be," it implies uncertainty. So using weak verbs such as appears, seems, could be, etc., needs to be avoided. I'll just finish off with a few thoughts
I'm
on
getting
questions and interruptions from the audience. You may choose to invite questions from the audience as you go, or ask them to wait until the end. Either way, questions should be encouraged, as it provides you with some feedback on how interested the audience is and how well they're understanding you.
Now that's more like it.
When a question is asked, you need to provide an answer that is as accurate as possible. So initially, my tip is to repeat it. This will ensure you have heard it correctly and will give you a few seconds to gather your thoughts. Interruptions, on the other hand, can be unwelcome, and you may get them for a variety of reasons. It's likely, however, that there's something in your presentation that's unclear or confusing. So my advice is to reduce problems by reading through your presentation beforehand and predicting potential points which could cause interruptions. You may then want to change that part of your presentation, or at least you'll be prepared if someone does interrupt you. Now, do you have any questions?
There's a test there.
There we go. All right, so let's double check our answers. I'm going to scroll down here and see our answers. We have supportive. We have pay
You've
attention.
improved, I must admit.
We have
That was
next
a bloody good
steps.
Be careful. Earn a reputation for talent around here, and some
We
people
have
get
consistent.
out about it.
Sounds like you're speaking from
Graphics.
experience.
Yes,
Tone.
well, I am.
Silence.
You didn't do
Weak
abysmally. I
verbs.
can't deny that.
Repeat it.
But
And
you'll
predict
not have
it.
the same luck on the South Coast course.
So, write these ones in. So the answer was supportive, how supportive they are.
We'll see, won't we? Till next time.
I half expected you to back down.
And then
See you at the
we
South
moved on
Coast
to the
trial.
structure.
If you don't lose your nerve.
Said make the audience
To race
pay
this course
attention.
again,
Two
visit
words.
the podium with
Pay
the
attention.
leaderboard, where you can start the race and check your time.
Okay. Then 33, he said it was next steps. Next steps. And he said, presentation needs to be, and it was an adjective, and it was consistent. Consistent means all the same. And he said, vary content by mixing words, and the other one was graphics. And then he moved on to the presenting. Mention about your voice. Said you should vary the speed and tone of your voice. And occasionally add silence. Greater impact. And he did mention, he said, for example, appears in seems, and he said these are called weak verbs. Weak verb is not a strong, doesn't have a strong exact meaning to it. And then last two questions, he said, when asked a question, first of all, you should, he said, repeat it. So repeat the question. And then number 40 was to minimize interruptions by predicting them. So predicting them is kind of guess what questions might be. So, guys. So I'll tell you what, we'll listen to it again because everyone says this is the most difficult part. We'll look at the transcript this time. You can follow along with it. All right, so, yeah, guys, this is some extra vocabulary on there for you to look over if you want. Some of the things they mentioned. These are some key points from the passage. So on, but just some extra things. All right, so we're going to listen to this again. You notice the first answer doesn't come up for quite a while. All right, so.
(31 to 40).
Hello, everyone. You've all been given an assignment for your sociology course, which will involve giving a presentation to the rest of the group. And so today, I'm going to be giving you a few tips on how to prepare your presentations. This should help you with your current assignment, but a lot of the principles I'll be putting across will be general principles which will, of course, help you with all your future presentations. So first of all, the most important thing to consider is your audience. And in this instance, your audience are the other students in your group. There are 3 points to bear in mind. Firstly, you need to ask yourself what they need to know. Secondly, it's useful to consider whether they'll be supportive or not. And thirdly, will it be a small group, say 3 or 4, a moderate gathering of 20 or so people, as for your current assignment, or will there be hundreds of people? Having said all that, what I'm about to tell you will apply equally to any audience. So, how do you structure your presentation? Right at the beginning, you should tell them something that forces them to pay attention. This could be something surprising or even shocking, but it needs to be relevant. After that, you need a list of items or topics showing them what you'll be covering, rather like an agenda. And then the main part of the presentation will follow. This main part will be the detailed information you'll be presenting and could include facts, statistics, personal experiences, etc. After this, you should summarize what you've presented and close with what I call next steps. For this assignment, you could simply point the group to other sociology reference material. In other cases, you may want to suggest some actions that people can take. Now, what about the design of the slides for your laptop? Well, the important thing here is to be consistent. You need to have the same type of font and use the same color and size for the same elements. For example, all headers need to look the same. All bullet points need to be presented in the same way. And don't just stick to words. Bring the presentation to life by adding graphics. These could be in several forms, such as pictures, flowcharts, diagrams, histograms, and so on. And so let's move on now to presenting. You have your presentation prepared and you're ready to start. Well, it's important to give a good impression from the start. So take 3 deep breaths, look at the audience, no matter how frightening they may be, and be enthusiastic and energetic. As you go through the presentation, remember to provide some variety in the way you speak. So, for example, you can talk fairly rapidly for information that may be familiar, but then slow down for more unfamiliar sections. And change your tone as you speak. Don't keep it at the same level all the way through. As I mentioned, look at your audience. A good tip is to pick people out and look at them for around 5 seconds. Not looking at the audience gives the impression that you're either not interested in them or terrified of them. Looking too long at one particular person may make them feel rather uncomfortable. There may be points in your presentation that you want your audience to really absorb. And in order to make important points stand out, you may consider adding silence right after these. It will give people time to reflect on what you've just said. Also, you may be presenting complicated ideas or technical details, but try to keep everything as simple as possible.
I'm amazed I've never heard
Use simple words and as few as possible.
I often read
And
about
be
great
clear. If you say something like, "This appears to be," it implies uncertainty. So using weak verbs such as appears, seems, could be, etc., needs to be avoided. I'll just finish off with a few thoughts on questions and interruptions from the audience. You may choose to invite questions from the audience as you go, or ask them to wait until the end. Either way, questions should be encouraged, as it provides you with some feedback on how interested the audience is and how well they're understanding you. When a question is asked, you need to provide an answer that is as accurate as possible. So initially, my tip is to repeat it. This will ensure you have heard it correctly and will give you a few seconds to gather your thoughts. Interruptions, on the other hand, can be unwelcome, and you may get them for a variety of reasons. It's likely, however, that there's something in your presentation that's unclear or confusing. So my advice is to reduce problems by reading through your presentation beforehand and predicting potential points which could cause interruptions. You may then want to change that part of your presentation, or at least
Simply go
you'll
to
be
the Hall of
prepared
Herodiana.
if someone does
It's at
interrupt
the
you.
base of the defense against the Dark Arts Tower.
So there we go.
There, you'll find a
That was
series
the
of
words that came
depulso
up.
puzzles
I
concealing
think it was also
pieces
kind of
of
useful because
Herodiana's
you ever
ensemble.
have to give a
Very well.
speech, I
I
think,
shall let you know
a
if I find
presentation.
anything.
It kind of gives you some advice about it too, some good
I
advice on
can't
there.
wait to see
about giving
Herodiana's famous
presentations.
ensemble.
So,
Perhaps I'll make myself a copy.
all right, guys. So, I guess everyone's okay.
Suppose
all
I
right.
should look for
We're
that
gonna,
secret hall Sophronia
move on.
told me about. It does sound interesting.
Gonna work our way backwards. Okay, we're gonna go to section 3. So, and we're taking a look at this. We see George's experience of university. Okay, so we have this kind of broken out. We have a couple of gap fills here. We have, I'm going to choose which 2 subjects did Marta like best before university. So we're going to pick a couple of these. And then we're going to do George's experience. We'll fill in some missing words. And then 27 to 30 is multiple choice. So it's kind of a little bit of everything in there. So let's go through it. All right, so which 2 subjects did Marta, now Marta is the girl, what did Marta like best before going to university? Okay, so that's kind of a key point right here. So what was her favorite subject? So we're going to assume these are high school. What did she like best before going to university? Was it arts? Was it English? Probably going to be English because it's a British test. French, history, or science. So what did she like best? Well, this is the girl, Marta. George is the boy. All right, so. Okay, 23 to 26, we have no more than 2 words. Okay, so, George's experience in university. Now, George is studying mechanical engineering, which involves several disciplines. He is finding what's most difficult. So what is he finding most difficult? So what part of his subject is most difficult? At the moment, right now, his course is mainly what? So at the moment, his course is mainly what? He will soon have an assignment which involves a study of what? What's he going to be studying? And he thinks there are too many and would like less of them. All right, so what does he think is the most difficult part of his subject? What is he studying right now? I mean, at the moment, his course is mainly what? What will he be? So we have an assignment, the study of something, and he thinks there are too many something. Now, that gives you a little bit of a hint here, guys, because remember, many is for countable nouns, right? So too many tests, too many quizzes, too many exams. Those are countable things. One exam, 2 exams. One chair, 2 chairs. So you know it's going to be a countable noun. If it was something that is uncountable, it would be much. Too much time, too much energy, too much. So something that we cannot count. So you know it's going to be a countable noun. So remember that when you write it in, to use the plural version of that noun. So plural noun means noun plus s, countable version of it. All right, I'm gonna move on. Okay, so we have Marta. Marta thinks the students at her university are what? So this is the female. She thinks the students are they sociable, intelligent, energetic? Be prepared for synonym, guys. Remember. So they might not come out and say sociable. They might say something like friendly, gregarious, outgoing. Intelligent, they might say smart, clever. So be prepared for synonyms. 28. George hopes that his tutor will help him what? So this is the boy again. So George hopes his tutor will help him lose his shyness, settle into university. So settle in is kind of, show him where everything is, or help him get to know his subject better. Nine. What does Marta know about her first assignment? So what does she know now? What does she know about it? Does she know the topic of the assignment? Does she know the length of the assignment? Or the deadline of the assignment? So what's it about? How long it should be? When it's due? So listen for that. And then finally, George would like to live. Where does he want to live? He wants to live in a hall of residence. Hall of residence is like the dormitories, the on-campus dormitories. And a flat on his own. So flat means apartment, British English. He wants to have his own place, or with a host family. So let's see here. Yeah, just a couple of extra vocabulary words there. As I said, synonyms, paraphrasing, friendly, cordial, civil. These are all synonyms for sociable. Somebody is cordial, they're civil, these are friendly. We have studious and diligent. This just means that they study hard. Just some synonyms for it. So you might hear those instead. There we go. Let's get started.
Recording 45. You will hear two students talking about their university studies. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26.
So I'm going to skip ahead here, guys, because I think we've already done that. So that's about 30 seconds you would get to look that over.
Oh, hi, George. How's it going?
Hi, Martina. It's going well. How about you? How's university life?
Well, it's great. Apart from the studying, of course.
Yeah, me too. What are you studying? I seem to remember that you were going to do art. That was your best subject, wasn't it?
No, not really. I just liked the teacher. He was French and had an amazing accent. My favourite subject was history, but I couldn't see what career that would give me.
Oh, right. So, what did you choose?
Well, I found it really difficult to decide. I was really good at science, but I must admit, I never really enjoyed studying it. So, in the end, I decided to opt for English, which was my second favourite subject, and I thought it would be more useful to me than studying anything else. So, that's what I'm doing. How are you finding university?
Well, it's a bit of a challenge, I suppose.
Are you finding it difficult?
Well, some of it. I'm doing mechanical engineering, which is really interesting, but it covers quite a lot of areas like materials science, machine design, physics, and of course mechanics. And they're all fine, but it's maths that I'm struggling with. It's a lot harder than it was at school.
I can believe it. It all sounds very difficult to me. But then I never was very good at mechanical things. I suppose it must involve some practical work.
Well, not at the moment. Currently, it's nearly all theory, so it's a bit heavy going.
I guess you need to start with that so that you can get a grasp of the concepts and learn a few facts before you start putting it into practice. It must be a lot different to the course that I'm taking.
Yes, but in a few weeks, we'll be having a lot more practical experience. In fact, I got a great assignment this term working on jet engines, which means I'll be going on a few field trips to a nearby airport.
Oh, that's great. It sounds like you're going to be very busy.
Yes, I'm not sure how I'm going to cope with the work. We have a lot of lectures, and that's fine. The lecturers are very knowledgeable, and I learn a lot from them. But we also have a lot of seminars, and I find with so many people expressing their views, it can get quite frustrating. It would be better if we didn't have so many of those.
Yes, it's the same for me.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop and put these answers in here. Okay, so you might have noticed that they did mention every subject on here, but actually didn't mention. They mentioned a French teacher, but they didn't mention French the subject. So, they mentioned art, but the first thing she decided that she was going to take was history. She said, I want to take history. Yeah. And then she mentioned, well, I was good at science, but I didn't like it. She said, I decided to settle for my second favorite subject, which was English. So she chose history and English as her favorite subjects. Then he moved on with George. He said he was finding math or maths, however you want to say it. British use the plural maths. Americans just math. So either one would be okay. You put the maths, you put math. They're not going to mark it wrong. At the moment, his course is mainly, and what he said, it was theory. Could have said theory. Could have said theoretical. Open, okay. But he said to soon have an assignment involving the study of, and we had two words here, it was jet engines. And the last one we had here, he said he thinks there are too many seminars. Seminars are kind of similar to lectures. You just kind of listen to the professor talk about things. So those were the answers for those guys. All right. Let's keep going here. So again, like I said, remember synonyms, because they're not going to come out and say these words. They're going to use synonyms instead.
I see. The switch reset everything. Good to know.
Almost.
Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
How are the students at your place?
Well, I haven't really met anyone yet. They all seem a bit quiet.
Perhaps they're working hard. They don't appear to be very studious here, but they are very friendly. I must say, I've been doing a lot of sitting around and chatting over the last week or so.
Well, that's good. The only person I've spoken to really is my tutor. He's very approachable and seems to understand how difficult it can be starting university.
It's good to have someone you can talk to, and he may help you meet other students.
Actually, that doesn't bother me. I'm bound to get to know some people sooner or later. It's more a question of finding out what I need to do, where to go, and so on. I hope he can help me with that.
Oh, I would have thought so. Well, we certainly have a lot of work ahead of us. It seems like a long time, doesn't it? Studying for 3 years.
Yes, it does. But I'm sure it'll go quickly. You know, I'm really dreading the first assessment.
Yes. For the course I'm doing, we have to hand our first one in at the end of next month.
Really? So, have you got the topic yet?
No, but we'll get it soon. I'm not sure how much we have to write yet. Not too much, I hope.
I know what you mean. And it's hard to study, especially where I am now.
Oh, where are you living?
I'm living in a hall of residence. I thought that would be a good idea, as there'd be a lot of people around. But I'm finding it a bit noisy. I can see that I'm going to have problems when I really need to get down to some work.
So, I guess you need to be somewhere on your own then?
Yes. Well, I do like to have some people around me, so I'd prefer to live with a family somewhere, in a house not too far from the university.
Well, good luck with that.
Yes, thanks. And good luck to you as well. Oh, I have to dash now. I've another lecture in 10 minutes. Bye for now.
Bye.
So there we go. All right, so let's start with Marta here. So Marta says, she said they're not very studious. They're not very studious, but they are friendly. So the answer for this one is sociable. Synonym. And George hopes that his tutor will help him settle into university. Martin knows, the only thing she knows right now is the deadline. Last one here. George would like to live with a host family. Answers. All right, so I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm not going to play it again, but I will scroll down and we'll look at the transcript to see where those answers came up. Here. Okay, so if we kind of look where George talks about the gap fill here. He says, but it's maths that I'm struggling with. He says, well, at the moment, it's nearly all theory. And he says, yes, but in a few weeks, we have a lot more practice experience. In fact, I've got a great assignment this term working on jet engines. So jet engines. And then the last one, he said here, he said, the lectures are very knowledgeable and I learn a lot from them, but we also have a lot of seminars. I find that with so many people expressing their views, it's quite frustrating. It'd be better if we didn't have so many of those. Yeah, so there we go. He would like less of them. Then we had 27 to 30. Okay, so Marta said, perhaps they're working hard. They don't appear to be very studious here, but they are very friendly, so sociable. Then Georgie said, well, actually, it doesn't bother me. I'm bound to get to know some people sooner or later. It's more a question of finding out what I need to do, where to go, and so on. I hope he can help me with that. So, to settle in. And then with Marta, she says, yes, for the course I'm doing, we have to hand our first assignment in at the end of next month. So the deadline is next month. And then our last one for George, where he wants to live, he says, well, I do like to have some people around me. So I prefer to live with a family somewhere in a house not too far from the university. So host family, that's where he wants to live at. Guys, there we go. Everyone okay? Correct. Let's move on. I'll double check anyway. Got there right there. Yeah, so you could have put mathematics for that one, theory, theoretical. Okay. On to section 2. All right, so now this one can be a little bit challenging because if you look there, we have no more than 3 words. So you might have to write as many as 3 words in. So what are they talking about here? All right, so yeah, they're going to mention a water park. Okay, so and we're going to mention an aquarium, VIP tickets. So we have Sea Life Center. That's the name of it. And what was the Sea Life Center called previously? What was it? What was the name of it before? So I'm going to write the name of it. What is the newest attraction called? So an attraction would be a show or a ride or something. So the newest. That's also a good thing to keep in mind right there, the word newest. Okay, whenever you see something related to time, keep that in mind because they might mention some older ones, but they're going to talk about the newest, the latest. So be prepared for synonyms again. Latest. Most recent. And synonyms. When is the main feeding time? Okay, so this is going to be most likely going to be a number. So the main feeding time, so maybe 12 o'clock, or they might say noon, 3 p.m., something like that. So it could be numbers, it could be the word noon, probably not midnight. So, and then what can you do with a VIP ticket? So if you buy a VIP ticket, what will they let you do? What special event will the Sea Life Center arrange for you? So, a special event, what will they arrange for you? And where will the petition for animal conservation be sent to? Well, petition, guys, is what I put that in here. Petition is just something we might sign, get a lot of people to sign it to maybe change the rules or something like that. So say for an example, I signed a petition against the proposal closure of the local hospital. So a petition. So where will they send it? And then finally, what can you use to test what you learned? Okay, so you can test what you learned. By the way, guys, this learnt here, this is British English. This is like past tense. Learned, learnt. This is more used in British English than American English, okay? But it means the same thing. The past tense of learn. There we go. So, 11 to 17. Okay, so let's take a look at this one here. We have, I'm going to choose 3 answers from the box and write them the correct letter. Okay. So this is another one where we might hear some paraphrasing or synonyms. We're going to put that here. So, for example, must not miss.
Revelio. Accio. Arresto momentum. Accio. Arresto momentum. Accio. Revelio. Accio. Accio. Arresto momentum. Accio. Arresto momentum. Accio. Arresto momentum. Closer. Ha. Accio. Accio. That's the last of them. Seems I was a match for... And this must be the last piece of Herodiana's ensemble. It is remarkable. No wonder Sophronia wanted to see this. Sophronia, I solved all the puzzles in the Hall of Herodiana.
Incredible! Then you found Herodiana's outfit. May I see it?
You were right about how spectacular it is, which is why it's a pity you didn't find it yourself.
You double-crossing cur. I can't believe I told you about the Hall of Herodiana. Oh, I should have waited and done it myself. It would have only been 2 more years. You don't deserve to possess such an invaluable and historic outfit.
Revelio. Nothing to identify, for now at least.
So synonyms for must not miss, things like, oh, you have to see it, don't miss out on, or you really should go, something like that. So must not miss, so you should definitely go there. Temporarily close, where they're doing maintenance or construction. Then we have large queues. Okay, so queues is a line, so long lines. We have lots of lines, so maybe you'll say maybe it's very busy or something like that. So we have the aquarium, we have the crocodile cave, we have the penguin park, the seal center, and the turtle town. All right, so we're only going to be using 3 of these. All right, let's do this first part here.
Recording 44. You will hear a guide talking about a sea life center. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 17.
Okay, so hi everybody and welcome to the Sea Life Centre. Before you start on your tour, I'd just like to give you some information about things to look out for as you go. Well, first of all, I guess some of you may have been here before and may be surprised to see the name has changed. We're not called World of Water anymore. Since the beginning of this summer, we've been renamed, and we've also made a few other changes. However, the main attractions like the aquarium, the crocodiles, the penguins, and so on are still here. But we have a new restaurant and picnic area, and the latest thing that we have, and it was only finished last week, is the splash ride. This is an exciting new area of the centre and is pretty scary, and of course you do get a bit wet, so make sure you're not wearing your best clothes. As I said, the main attractions are still here, and the most popular thing that everyone wants to see is feeding time, especially for the crocodiles and the seals. We used to have the main feeding time in the afternoon at around 3 p.m. But we found that some of the animals got a bit hungry waiting until then, and so we now have it at noon. They seem much happier with the new time, although it's a bit difficult to know what they're thinking. Now, I'd like to mention something new that we've introduced this year that we're very excited about. It's called a VIP ticket. The VIP ticket costs an extra £2 per person, and you will be amazed at what it allows you to do. With this, you'll be allowed to feed the sharks. Now, I know that for some people, this might be quite a frightening thing to do, but it is perfectly safe. For those of you who are a bit unsure, we do have a video you can watch to see what happens. It's a great experience, and your friends will be very impressed. Speaking of friends, I'd just like to remind you that the Sea Life Centre will be more than happy to organise a birthday party for you and your family and friends. If you need more details, you can speak to me afterwards, and there are also forms at the entrance that you can fill in. I'd also like to bring your attention to the good work that the Sea Life Centre is doing in support of animal conservation. I'm sure you're all aware of the worrying situation with a large number of species facing extinction. Here at the Sea Life Centre, we're taking action by asking as many people as possible to sign a petition. Once we have over 5,000 signatures, we are planning to send it to the government in the hope that more people will begin to take it seriously. Right. Well, there's obviously a lot going on at the centre and a lot of things to discover. At all the attractions, there is helpful information, so please read as much as you can, and if you want to see what you've remembered, please do the quiz after your visit. There are no prizes, of course, but I'm sure you'll be surprised by how much you've learnt.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at the questions 18 to 20.
All right, guys, so there we go. Just trying to find a pencil sharpener here. But... All right, guys, so let's see how we did. All right, so scroll down and check out the answers here. All right, so some things that they said. They said, where's that here? Okay, so, well, first of all, I guess some of you may have been here before and may be surprised to see the name has changed. We're not called the World of Water anymore. So the answer was World of Water. And they talked about the latest thing that we have on was only finished last week, and it is the Splash Ride. So the Splash Ride. Okay, and then they talked about the feeding time. They said everyone wants to see the feeding time. They said we used to have the main feeding time in the afternoon at around 3 p.m. But we found that some of the animals got a bit hungry waiting until then, so it has been changed to noon. So the answer was noon. They talked about the VIP tickets. They said the VIP ticket costs an extra £2 per person. And you'll be amazed at what it allows you to do. With this, you will be allowed to feed the sharks. So the answer was feed the sharks. And then they had, speaking of friends, I just want to remind you that Sea Life Center will be happy to organize a birthday party for you and your family and friends. So the answer was birthday party. And then next one was, okay, so it said here at Sea Life Center, we're taking action by asking as many people as possible to sign a petition. Once we have 5,000 signatures, we're planning to send it to the government. So the answer was the government. And then we had, okay, so, and if you want to see what's remembered, please do the quiz. after the visit. So the answer was quiz. It was. All right, guys, there's your answers. So I'm going to write these in real quick. Okay, so it was World of Water. Had a splash ride. Noon. Answer was feed the sharks. Birthday party. Sent to is going to be sent to government. Then last one, to use to test what you've learned. And quiz or take a quiz. I guess quiz be okay. Quiz. It's 3 words. So, all right, guys, there we go. All right, so we're going to listen to this one here.
Now listen and answer questions 18 to 20.
So, before I leave you all to start your tour, I've just got a few tips. There are a large number of attractions, and you may not have time to see them all. Of course, there are the old favorites like the aquarium and the crocodile cave, but if you don't have time to see everything, make sure you visit Turtle Town, which is beyond the aquarium and the seal center. This is very special and has a large number of endangered species, and as it's at the far corner of the Sea Life Center, it often gets overlooked. I also have to apologize for the Penguin Park. This has needed some urgent work to be done, and so will not be open for the next week. We're very sorry about this, but I'm sure you'll find the Seal Center, which is directly opposite it, will keep you entertained just as much, if not more. We're also very busy today, as you may have noticed on your way in. Everyone starts here at the aquarium, but as it's so big, there's no waiting to get in. But today, we're expecting a lot of people to want to see the crocodile cave, as a couple of eggs have hatched out. So expect delays there, and if you like, move on to the Seal Center first, and then go back when things are quieter.
So there we go. I guess so. They said make sure to go to, make sure to see, make sure to go to, and the answer was E, Turtle Town. And they said, unfortunately, Penguin Park is closed today. The last one, they said, was very busy because some eggs had hatched. It was Crocodile Cave. All right, so there we go. All right, guys, so we're going to move on. We're going to do our last one here. Okay. So we have, looks like it's going to be 2 separate sections, right? We have 1 to 6, 7 to 10. So first one says no more than 2 words and or a number. Okay, so things we want to look for, guys. We want to look for things that might be spelled. Okay, so things that they might spell or long numbers. These are going to be the hardest ones. All right, so we have a short story competition. We have entry details. Example, the cost is £5. So we have the length of the story. So it should be approximately. So this is probably going to be, it's either going to be words or pages. going to be a number in front of it. 1,000, 10,000 words, something like that. The story must include a what? We have the minimum age. Again, it's going to be a number. This symbol means number, by the way, guys. That one means hashtag, pound sign, but it also means number. Okay, we have the last entry date. All right, so we have first, and this is probably going to be a month. All right, so 1st of April, 1st of July, 1st of September. We have a web address. Okay. So this is probably a good one where they might spell it. Okay, so just be prepared. They might come out and spell it. And then the last one is don't what? Pages to the organizers. So this is going to be a verb. So don't verb the story, whatever it is. Right? And we'll look at this last couple here. Again, these will be 2 separate parts because we see there's different instructions for it, so there will be a pause. This one here is different. It says no more than 2 words. Okay, judges and prizes. The competition is judged by okay, who's going to judge it? The top 5 stories will be available. So, top 5 will be available, perhaps online. I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to see there. Kind of makes sense, right? The top story will be chosen by the what? So, who's going to choose this? Now that the right there, that kind of makes it a little bit, the president, think of any particular job or group that would use the. Last one, the first prize is a place at a writer's workshop in, so we have in here, we have the preposition of in. All right, so this could be either a country, a city, of in, prepositions at, in, on, I guess. So that's first. Here we go.
Recording 43. You will hear a telephone conversation between the organizer of a short story competition and someone who wishes to take part in the competition. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6.
Good morning. Dave speaking.
Oh, hi. I'm phoning about a short story competition. I saw an advert in a magazine, and I was just calling to get some details.
Yes, certainly. I'm the competition organizer, so I should be able to help. What kind of details are you looking for?
Well, does it cost anything to enter?
Yes, there's an entry fee of £5.
Okay, that should be fine. It's a short story competition, so how many words is that?
Well, we want to give people a reasonable amount of freedom, but the guidelines are around 3,000 words.
Oh, that sounds quite a lot.
Well, it's not as much as it used to be. We did have a limit of 5,000 words, but some people thought that was too many. So this year we've reduced it.
Right. And does the story need to be about anything in particular?
No, you can write about any topic you like. But the main point of the competition is that it has to have a surprise ending.
Oh, I see. That sounds interesting. I don't think I've ever written a story like that before.
Yes, it's something we've introduced for this year's competition.
Right. I'm 18. Is there any age limit?
Yes, you need to be 16 or over. So if you're 18, that's fine.
Great. So you have the competition once a year, is that right?
Yes, we start advertising in January, and the competition takes up a lot of the year. We give people a few months to write their story, and then it takes quite a long time to judge all the entries and to announce the winners.
I see. So when is the closing date for the competition? It's already April. I hope I'm not too late.
No, you've still got plenty of time. You need to submit your entry by the 1st of August. After then, it will be too late. Although you can always enter next year's competition.
Okay, good. So how do I enter?
Well, we have a website, and the best way to enter is to complete the entry form online. We also have more details of the competition on the site. Shall I give you the web address?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's www.comp4ss.com. And that's the number 4, not the word 4.
Okay, thanks. I've got that. So, I can complete the entry form online, but how do I send the story? Do I print it out and send it to you?
Well, you may want to print the story out so you can review it, but don't post it to us. When you've finished your story, you will need to email it to us. The email address is on the website I gave you.
Okay, that's fine.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at the questions 7 to 10.
So let's go over these ones. Okay, so they talked about how many words it was going to be, and they said 3,000 words. Now they did have words. They had a distractor. They said it used to be 5,000 words, but now they made it 3,000. The story must include a surprise ending. Page is 16. They mentioned several different times. They said when they start, when they judge, but they said the last entry date. She said the closing date. The closing date was August, 1st of August. It's 1st. Well, this was the tricky one here because it didn't just have the words or the letters, it had a number in the middle. And it was COMP and the number 4. He said that's the number 4, not the word 4. MSFS.com. And the last one was don't. Now, again, they use British English. They said don't post it, which means post means to mail something. So don't mail it to them. Don't put it in the mail. You have to send it on the website. All right, so as I can see here, post mail, send a letter or parcel by post. Oh. All right, guys, let's finish this up.
Prizes are?
Questions 7 to 10.
Can you tell me a bit about how the competition is judged and what the prizes are?
Yes, of course. Well, once we have all the entries, I send them to all the judges. Our competition is quite popular, so we are lucky to be able to use famous authors who are very interested in the competition.
That's fantastic. It's great to know that someone famous will be reading my story.
Yes, that's right. It takes them quite a while to read through the entries, but eventually they decide on the top 5 stories.
I see. And what happens then?
Well, they will be published online so everyone can read them. They will not be in any order at this point. They will just be the 5 stories that the judges think are the best.
And do all the top 5 stories get prizes?
No, it's just the top story and the runner-up.
So how is the top story decided?
Well, once the top 5 stories are available, it will be the public who will vote for their favorite story.
Right, I see. So I need to get all my friends to vote for me then?
Yes, that's a good idea.
And what is the prize?
Well, the runner-up gets a prize of £300. But the winner gets a trip to Spain to attend a workshop for writers.
Wow, that's brilliant! I'd better get writing straight away.
Yes. Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay, so there we go. All right, so they said the competition is judged by, and the answer was famous authors. And took a guess on this one, just made sense, and the top 5 stories will be available, and the answer was online. And the top story will be chosen by, and the answer was the public, so the people will choose it. They did mention the runner-up, guys. The runner-up is like second place, but first place gets to go to, it was the country of Spain. There you go. All right, guys. So, yeah, that is pretty much it there. All right. So, yeah, we're just, you know, these ones, part 1, just look for, you know, as I said, long numbers, things like that. Okay. All right. We're going to stop there, guys. Okay. All right. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. If I don't see you, I'll talk to you later.